Well, usually Rick Steves is traveling the world, tasting an exotic dish and immersing himself in other cultures. But with less than 2 weeks to go before the midterm elections, the travel writer is turning his attention closer to home with one key issue on his mind.
I believe that the mature, responsible, adult, recreational use of marijuana is a civil liberty.
That is Steve speaking at Seattle's Hemp Fest in 2010. Steve has long been an activist for legalizing marijuana and serves as a board chair for the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Law. And Rick Steves joins us now from the West Coast. Good morning to you, and thanks for hanging out with us this morning.
Good morning. Nice to be with you.
So, Steve, Mr. Steves, I listen to you a lot on the radio. We're, of course, accustomed to you on the travel. So when I heard about you were into this marijuana legalization, it kind of caught me by surprise. Why'd you get involved?
Well, I guess you just mentioned I'm a travel writer, and really for me, high is a place, and sometimes I want to go there. And if my government says I cannot go there, there should be a good reason. And just as a principled sort of stance, there's no good reason for an American citizen to be denied the civil liberty of enjoying marijuana. Now, I'm not pro-marijuana. Marijuana is a drug. It needs to be regulated. It can be abused. But I just think that we have a very wrong-minded and costly prohibition against marijuana based on lies. And 10 years ago, we were the first economic or political entity in the world, Colorado and Washington State, to actually legalize, tax, and regulate marijuana, not because we wanted to promote marijuana, but because we wanted to help stop a prohibition. And today, 19 states have allowed recreational marijuana. More than half of the population of the United States can smoke pot legally, and the numbers are in. Use doesn't go up, it stays roughly the same. Teen use actually goes down a little bit. Road safety is fine. And we take a thriving black market and turn it into a highly regulated and taxed legal market. All that money no longer enriching and empowering gangs and organized crime, but being taxed. And I think that is just a common sense change. Every 2 years I go on the campaign to help out. And this year we're working in 5 states. Maryland, Arkansas, Missouri, North Dakota, and South Dakota. And we're just making the case that it's time to vote in a principled way for the civil liberty for adults to enjoy the responsible use of marijuana, and at the same time deal with the racism and the other tragedies that are associated with this prohibition that's really based on lies and old-fashioned reefer madness propaganda.
Yeah, the racism part that you just mentioned, that is a huge component as we're talking about countless people that are in our jail systems for selling marijuana, carrying marijuana, having possession of marijuana. And then on the other hand, you see these dispensaries that are legally doing things. And so there's kind of this disconnect across the country. But I want to pull up that map that we just had that shows marijuana legalization by state, because where we are here in Georgia, it is not legal. So why do you think some states are still hesitant to change the law?
People are afraid of what will happen, and we were afraid of what will happen in Washington State 10 years ago, but now we know what will happen. Our governor, Colorado's governor back then, when this was a dicey issue, they were not in favor of this, but now they are in favor of it because they see the common sense of it all. And you mentioned, people of color are being arrested and so on. 400,000 people even now are being arrested every year, and they're not rich, privileged white people. I don't have people like me can smoke pot with discretion pretty much anywhere and be fine. But it's just a racist law, and it's a counterproductive law. And some states are just catching up. But you can frame this in a way that a conservative state or a liberal state will embrace. I find it very interesting to see what happens when I write an op-ed and then we have it edited for different states, and you can see what resonates with voters in different states. But the bottom line is, anybody who wants to smoke pot does now. You can't wish it away. We have people that oppose us every 2 years. They're well funded. And they're well funded, but what I call the PPP, the pot prohibition profiteers. A lot of people to the left of me and to the right of me would rather marijuana stay illegal because they make a lot of money because of that. And the consequences of that are tragic. Again, 400,000 people a year are arrested, and they are generally poor people and people of color. And now courageous people are speaking out. As you mentioned, I'm the chair of the board for NORML, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. We've been working at this doggedly for 50 years, and we've come a long way. And now we're just on the cusp of our country recognizing that this prohibition is on its way out. And it's hard work to stop a prohibition. We did it 100 years ago against alcohol, not because booze is good, but because the laws designed to protect us from it were causing more problems than the drug itself. And as I said, everywhere I talk.
It is remarkable how public perception on weed has changed just in the past 2 decades alone. There's actually a new Monmouth University poll out this week that says 2/3, 68% of the American public supports legalizing the possession of small amounts of marijuana for personal use. If you look back just 2 decades ago, it was so unpopular. So is there any momentum that you're seeing, not just at the state level, but for this to be passed at the federal level?
You know, it's incremental. The federal government's trying to stay away from it, but states are incubators of change. So we try it, and it's like alcohol back in the 1920s and 30s. First one state, and first just beer, then home grow, then other states, then hard liquor. Today we're seeing the same evolution of common sense for marijuana. You know, President Biden came out and admitted that the prohibition is wrong-minded and it needs to be changed. And now more and more states are getting, more and more political leaders are getting cover to be able to not be afraid to just talk the common sense. But there's an amazing dichotomy. I mean, in my state, it's a thriving, it's a highly regulated industry that and when the black market days 10 years ago, it rivaled apples in Washington state. And today, rather than generating all that money for gangs and organized crime, we have a more than $1 billion industry every year. We generate more than $400 million of tax revenue to go to Olympia instead of gangs and organized crimes. It's all earmarked for very important causes related to health and drug policy and law enforcement. And we're employing a lot of people who otherwise would be looking for work. So it's highly regulated. If you go into a dispensary in a state that has legalized marijuana, it seems like it's sort of a cross between an Apple store and a pharmacy. I have to be carded to go inside. I mean, it's running a very tight ship. And I just think there's a lot of fear out there, like in so many political cases. And if somebody buried deep in the middle of the conservative corners of our country would come to a place where we've legalized marijuana, you realize it's old news. You know, no, it's just not an issue in Washington state. It's not an issue in the 19 states that have legalized, and the sky's not falling. And instead of buying marijuana from some shady corner down the street who's got a vested interest in selling it to kids and selling them things that are more addictive and more profitable, you've got a highly regulated shop at the edge of town, and that's where people who want to smoke pot get their pot. Again, I'm not a pothead. I'm not in favor of marijuana. I'm just saying it's here. And the people who argue against this kind of assume that, oh, it's not here, and if we legalize it, it will be here, and use will go up. And that's just a fantasy. You know, it's here whether you like it or not. It can be a criminal thing, or it can be a legal thing. I bring a European sensibility to this discussion, by the way. You know, I've spent 100 days a year in Europe ever since I was a kid. With my work with Guidebook and so on. And Europe a joint's about as exciting as a can of beer. And we're getting that way here.
All right, Rick. Thank you so much for hanging out today. We'll be right back.
Happy travel.